plethora of investor updates for Panther Metals, the exploration company focused on mineral projects in Canada. Chief Executive Darren Hazelwood joins me now. So, Darren, Bitcoin strategy, family money, possibly Dubai domicile, and sample assay results from the Winston Lake Mine tailings storage facility exceeding expectations. That's just some of the headlines this past month. So, first of all, the Bitcoin strategy. Modern decentralized finance mechanism adopted by all in the industry, or money laundering?
Sarah, that's such a London-focused comment would probably be my view on that. You've seen the regulatory moves in the United States. It's happening globally. This is a currency that is widely accepted, and those kind of comments, I think they went down with the Titanic, to be honest with you, Sarah. And we all know the struggles in the fiat system, and those struggles, unfortunately, are only going to gather pace as we look at government struggling to keep up with just loan repayments. And we all need a hedge against that system as we move forward. We're moving into choppy waters. We're getting a global population that is per capita becoming wealthier, so they have more access to money. But that money it is becoming less and less stable in traditional terms, and the crypto market offers that escape from that. You've only got to look at the devaluation of the dollar over the last 100 years. What is it, down 97%? It's accelerating. It makes absolute sense, and I think you will see over time the entire corporate world hold some form of digital currency as a way of security for its shareholders. Are we a trendsetter? Possibly in our approach, but we've got fundamental reasons for doing that as well.
Okay, understood. So let's not dwell on the Titanic and choppy waters metaphor, because what I want to know is, in terms of partners, stakeholders, potential transaction relationships, is everyone in alignment in your universe in terms of Bitcoin transactions? Does everyone get it and are adopting it? Or, as you said, are you setting a trend? Are you trailblazing?
Well, look, anything that's new is going to take time for everybody to accept it. Would we have been having this conversation 10 years ago? I don't believe we would have been, because the basis for cryptocurrencies was still largely unknown, and it was known by some, and they've made a lot of money off of the back of being those trailblazers. But this reminds me of the of the American build on the railway networks. You know, those pioneers struggled to start off with, but eventually the American railway network become exceptionally profitable, and remains so to this day. And that's where we're at. I believe we're at the end of the beginning of the cryptocurrency world. Bitcoin, which is what we're focused on, that is the AAA plus rated within that new world, and that's why I'm focusing on Bitcoin.
Okay, so do potential investors need to open a Bitcoin account, or can they buy shares in Panther Metals in the traditional way?
Oh no, they buy shares in Panther in the traditional way.
Okay, understood. So how is holding Bitcoin treasury helping the company and your shareholders?
Well, it's two-pronged. As I say, it takes us out of the fiat world in terms of currency debasement. But it also has a uniqueness that the assets don't, in that we can leverage Bitcoin, and we can leverage Bitcoin on terms that are far more agreeable to the business than you can get in the traditional forms of going through the market. And that's actually hence why I've pivoted and refined our strategy and told the market this, because I don't believe that there is any need for us to go into the market to raise capital to then purchase Bitcoin. And hence why we're going to Dubai. Dubai per capita has got the highest holding of digital currencies globally. Something like over 27% of the UAE population holds some form of digital currency. That's why I'm taking this model there. It also gives the participants in Dubai security in knowing that they're dealing with a main list London company, and with that they can trade that on a global basis, and it just makes sense all round.
So this potential operational base in Dubai, does this mean a physical office? And from your due diligence, how much that will that cost? And would an office be paid for in Bitcoin or local currency or US dollars?
No, that's the process we're actually going through now, making those decisions. And it may be that we go through a crypto trading house and operate through that entity, or it may be that we do set up our own office. And that's going to be one of the decisions we make, and that I'll talk to the market about when the time's right.
Okay. You've also told the market that you and your family have much more skin in the game. So, what percentage of the business do you and Mrs. Hazelwood now own? And would the family consider part Bitcoin, part equity investment in the business?
Well, no, because we're going to hold Bitcoin via the business and our holding anyway. So as the business builds up its Bitcoin treasury, my holding in the company, which between myself and Kerry, we own 7.32% of Panther, that would become a natural part of our investment. And I am truly hedging my own money at that point between traditional dollar valued assets and crypto assets within the Bitcoin treasury.
Okay. So taking the Bitcoin treasury, your personal shareholders into the equation, what's it all for? We know that a discovery has been made, but what shareholders still need clarification about is the size and the scope of the various discoveries. And I suppose this is where you might want to talk about Winston.
Look, this is why I'm so delighted, right? Winston is unique, and got to remember this is in a tier one jurisdiction. I started negotiating on Winston in December 2024, and it took 7 months to close the deal. We're dealing with two parties, one from Australia and First Quantum. And at the very beginning, the tailings was already in my mind. The historic production numbers are in the feasibility study from 2021. So effectively, it doesn't just tell you what they recovered, it tells you most importantly, what they didn't recover. And we know that the tailings, after processing, what didn't recover went into the tailings pond. And that tailings pond is managed to this day by First Quantum. And I already had an idea, and getting out there and actually proving it up was the very, very first step. And I personally was on site 2 weeks ago. We had quite a lot of organic matter in that, because we could only go into the very top layer of the tailings. So that meant that we got organic matter within the samples, within quite a lot of the samples. So that they're still not going to be truly reflective of what's in that tailings pond. However, the results far exceeded what our expectations were. Now, what people need to understand, and the uniqueness on this is an historic maintained mine site. It has all the water processing in situ operating today. They're still treating this water system. It has roads, it has security, it has everything that you want. Now, due to the topography of the tailings pond, you've actually got higher ground to on either side of the tailings pond. So you're simply looking at a situation where you can take the tailings out of the pond, treat them, process them, recover the commodity from those tailings, and put the tailings back in the existing pond, and the water treatment plant just carries on doing its treatment. The capex here will be extraordinarily low. However, what isn't low is the value of the contained metal. Now, yes, we have to do the metallurgical work to see what we can recover, but we already know from the assay process that the gold within the tailings can be recovered, because that's what they do. They separate the gold out to find out what grade the gold is. Now, the gold already runs into, with the historic production numbers, with the results that we've got, we know that that gold alone runs into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, this is a mine site that we've got an option agreement over. The PIC deposit has got a feasibility study from 2021 that already has an NPV of $176 million at an 8% discount. It's got an EBITDA of $67 million per year for the 8.5-year mine life. And that's outside of the tailings. So it's very, very simple now. We go for the tailings. We go for the tailings. The tailings have a very real chance of funding the mine build, which the mine build in dollar terms, as we've talked about dollars, is circa $110 million from that feasibility study in 2021. Now, we'd have seen increase in that capex due to inflation, but we've actually also seen silver up 70%. We've seen gold up. The feasibility study from 2021 was a 1635 gold. It's now 3,300 gold. You know, these are going to more than compensate for the increase in inflation in terms of the capex. This is a stepped process that's very easy to understand, and most importantly, it is 100% real. We have found the keys to the development, the growth of this business.
Okay, so that's probably one of the punchiest statements I've ever heard, and I've been talking to you since you listed on the main board all those years ago. But however, so 100%, but just remind us about how this transaction works. What is First Quantum doing? Do you have to pay the water treatment facility? When will it be 100% Panther Metals and therefore 100% Panther Metals responsibility?
Right, so we've got a 4-year option on the Winston site with First Quantum. That cost us $100,000 Canadian, which is circa £53,000. Now, we do pay First Quantum 50,000 Canadian dollars per annum, so around 26,000, 26,500 sterling. And we have that option for 4 years. First Quantum currently estimate their cost of keeping the water treatment plant and everything running at Winston, because bearing in mind it's also got an electricity substation on site. This has everything, and that's why I talk about the uniqueness of it. They pay around $400,000 per annum to keep this site and keep the water treatment maintained. Now, at the end of that 4 years, we have would be a bond to pay $4 million in relation to the tailing security and the reclamation. However, and this is an interesting point, if we could dry store the tailings after treatment, which this is a little bit further down the line, then you could eliminate the tailings pond and all the nasties in the tailings pond at the same time. So not only do you have an extremely competitive return on investment, you also have a very important environmental cleanup on your hands that then removes the requirement for that reclamation bond. It's beautiful.
Okay, but if it's beautiful, when will it start generating cash for Panther shareholders?
That's what we work on now. We have to remember that we've took this options 4 weeks ago. We've got onto site 2 weeks after taking that option. Within 4 weeks, we've reported to market that something that was never known, that this tailings pond contains hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of commodity. We've done that within 4 weeks. We're already engaged with our drilling contractor in terms of drilling out the ponds to a level that we can report and have a good idea on a resource. I am pushing for that to happen as on some urgency. We've already engaged with a tailings expert who is well aware of the processes. We've talked about the extract process that Fulcrum Metals hold the license within in certain parts of Ontario, and that we'd be keen to investigate, because the recoveries on that process look really, really encouraging, and it's an environmentally friendly process. And I would expect to report further updates next week to market. And I'm not hanging about here, because every day that I'm hanging about and not pushing towards that goal of production is in a non-cash generative business, that's another slice of dilution that's potentially happening to my holding. I want my holding to send me very happily into retirement, spending a couple of weeks a year drinking pina colada on the beach in the Caribbean. So that's certainly my goal. My goal here is undoubtedly to make money. If along that process I can then be involved in an environmental cleanup and return substantial capital to shareholders, that is a bonus that I could only wish for and only dream of, and that's one that I'm aiming at.
Okay, and hopefully all your shareholders can join you in the Caribbean as well, but perhaps not drinking pina colada, a bit too sweet
All of them are more
many.
than welcome to.
Gosh, no way. Any case, out of the entire two final questions, quick answers, please, Darren. So, out of the entire portfolio, because there's you're not just Winston. Out of the entire portfolio, which is the low hanging fruit? Is it Winston?
I know this is a really easy model. Tailings, mine build, exploration, build Bitcoin's treasury.
Okay. So what is the exit plan for the various assets? Enlarge, acquire more, develop, sell?
No, at the moment, it's going to be focus on the tailings. I have a good team, and I've instructed that team to look out for potential assets. But I believe awkward. I believe the core awkward. The conduit system will carry substantial commodity. We've got to drill that. We'll look at drill that this winter. If it does, it's a mine. It is my 100% belief, and 100% belief that Winston Survey on Abonga are the next VMS camps in Canada. None of that's changed. The only difference is that should we make discoveries, there's nobody that can come knocking at our door to do low ball offers, because we will have the capital and cash flow to finance all the next stages through through that curve, which is so unique in this industry. It's nuts, and we're extremely fortunate that what Winston can provide us.
Very good. Darren Hazelwood, Chief Executive of Panther Metals. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Sarah. It's been a pleasure.